Hello, dear friends. There are so many interesting news items that appear every day that summarizing and synthesizing them becomes a real odyssey. That is, a job that requires many hours. Opinion article. The peacock shows its legs. He feels ashamed of his paws. The duster is beginning to show. Evidence is multiplying. There is a talk of thousands of accusations. 1,000 affidavits of anomalies. This is how the trap algorithm works. Sidney Powell calls for witness protection. A large-scale military operation begins. The US Army begins its work in Poland. This choice will determine the future of humanity. Never underestimate the power of a few committed people. The big restart would be a poor effort to hijack the reset. Let's start. As more information comes out, the old peacock is showing off its ugly, dirty, greyish brown legs, which are hidden under its beautiful feathers. The majesty of peacocks has been evident for many centuries, and there is no doubt about it. The colorful bright blue plumage, a tail composed of more than 100 feathers, its enigmatic walk, and its hot-headedness make it have been called peacock. But it is curious that this beautiful animal is ashamed of its legs. Here we say the same thing in a different way. I can see your intentions, and your feather duster is showing. Are colloquial expressions we use in Spain to tell someone that we have realized what they are going to do, and almost always is not good at all. That's why I always say, never underestimate the power of a few committed people to change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. Trying to make a difference. Mike Adams claims that the so-called Great Reboot of Davos is only a poor effort by the swamp to hijack the currency reset and the real reset in order to use it for their own selfish ends. They will not succeed, but they try to place their old candidate in the Oval Office through a blatant electoral deception. Right now, the president's hands are tied by Congress, but he is considering challenging the bureaucratic structure and putting emergency money in the hands of needy citizens anyway. A political struggle is brewing on Capitol Hill for the people to receive stimulus assistance. This shows that we are close to a major financial restart. The evidence is mounting. The evidence of the deception in the US election is multiplying, according to the editorial of Hispanic-American writer Cesar Vidal Manzanares, who lives in Miami, Florida, and whom I interviewed many years ago, and who is the author of several popular books of various kinds, articles, essays, and historical novels. His editorial, entitled American Elections, The Evidence for It, is multiplying detailed last-minute information, especially that given at the press conference attended by Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and Gina Ellis. There are at least 1,000 of affidavits from private citizens about the electoral anomalies they observed. It is now known that the backdoor of this voting system can be hacked through the internet, and that even a child with a mobile phone could hack into these voting machines. The president's legal team described mountains of evidence of vote tabulation cheating, including the hundreds of affidavits mentioned by the White House press secretary and attorney Khaled McEnany. The swamp orcs of the lowlands are now pigeonholed. The evidence is now pouring out, and more proof and truth is being presented about the alteration of the right to vote. Meanwhile, the patriots are preparing to bring down the whole corrupt system, and this will bring the people closer. But the bad guys will try to prevent the citizen from uniting for the truth. According to Drafapal, a lawyer for the Republican campaign speaks of thousands of arrests related to the electoral fraud. This lawyer is not Sidney Powell, who hours later said practically the same thing on Fox News. Sidney Powell said, "We have a series of smoking guns. We may have to get witness protection for them." During an explosive interview, Sidney claimed that millions of dead people, also known as Democrats, may have voted this year, and that 7 million votes were probably stolen from the president. Excuse me. Transfer of votes. Drafapal adds that the vote switching program has been discovered, indicating that the investigation is continuing. The vote switching took place through a third candidate. The process is like money laundering from tax havens, with the third candidate acting as the intermediate company in the tax haven. An algorithm apparently favored the Democratic candidate with a shift of 40,000 votes in favor in Pennsylvania and 373,000 in Virginia. This is because this voting system uses a feature called weighted race feature that assigns fractions to each vote cast on the machines. That these percentages are counted, not number of votes. This algorithm divides the votes into fractions and then weights them for some reason. The fact that the voting system is using percentages and not numbers in its calculation allows for fraud, something that will have to be investigated and resolved by the courts of law, because that's where the Republicans are going to end up. This is going to happen. Military operation. Since Monday, 16 November, there has been an explosion in military air traffic involving nearly 1,000 military aircraft in continuous flights, which is believed to be related with the mass arrests. Master Sigmund Battery revealed yesterday on the Immaculada TV channel that General Milley is in command of 17 armies from different countries to carry out an operation to drain the Trump. During the last 72 hours, many of these thugs have been arrested and secretly transported by planes to military prisons. The U.S. 5th Corps Command has begun to work in Poland on strengthening military cooperation between the two countries as of 20 November. The joint activities of Poland and USA contribute to the security of NATO countries and all countries of the free world, stressed the Polish defense minister at the opening ceremony in Poznan, broadcast on Polish television. The agreement between the US and Poland on strengthening military cooperation and providing for an increased US military presence in Poland was signed in Warsaw last August. According to this agreement, the US contingent deployed in Poland will be increased by 1,000 soldiers, and the US 5th Corps Command will have its headquarters in Poland. At present, about 5,000 US soldiers are stationed on Polish territory. European exasperation with Poland and Hungary. Exasperation continues to grow in the European Union against Poland and Hungary for their veto of the economic recovery plan and the community budget for the next 5 years. Angela Merkel rolled out using the threat against the two countries on Thursday. Bribes. Some minor pieces of the Turkey game are beginning to fall away little by little, as if it were a chess game, in which the first to fall are the pawn until the king is finished and checkmated is given. One of your aldermen named P.G. Sittenfeld has been arrested by a third-letter federal agency in the city of Cincinnati for accepting bribes in exchange for votes. According to the information published on the website The Gateway Pundit, Sittenfeld was allegedly given a total of $40,000 with the intention of diverting votes to his party. But the harsh reality was that Sittenfeld fell into a planned trap, since it was agents who provided him with the money to prove his corruption. Now Sittenfeld is arrested and charged in court with charges that take up more than 20 pages of evidence. The most curious thing about this whole affair is that this councilman was the favorite to occupy the mayor's seat in Cincinnati in the next elections. He is now the third Cincinnati city councilman to be arrested on corruption charges this year, and the second just last week. Fearful society. Today's Spanish society is lethargic, fearful, snitching and gregarious. Our rulers have been testing us and realizing that we are adapting to all their orders, however unjust they may be, and they are tightening the screws on us. Now you cannot go out. Now you cannot go out with your mouth covered. You can go out, but do not approach anyone. If you approach someone, do not touch him. Change even your way of greeting. Now I forbid you to make a living, and I force you to close your business and everything by skipping its own laws to the bullfighter and changing them on a whim. And what is the reaction of most of society? None. It's already completely adjusted to living under injustice. Not only is fear gripping the whole of society, but also comfort. Many have become accustomed to not thinking in line with the majority's thinking. Even family members are abandoned to fear of contagion, and some who are even worse become snitches for others to hand the medal of a good subject, because it's easier to be part of the flock than to have doubts lest they label you a madman. Thousands of migrants crammed into a port in the Canary Islands have triggered a serious political crisis in Spain. The incessant arrival of cayucos and pateras with Maghrebi and Sub-Saharan migrants on the southern coast of Gran Canaria has completely overwhelmed the management capacity of the local authorities. Between 1st and 15 November alone, over 5,350 people arrived in cayucos and pateras from North Africa, and a average of over 350 per day. Cruelty to animals. A group of vandals mutilated and burned stray cats in Murcia. The police in Los Alcázares, in the region of Murcia, are looking for a group of people who burned and mutilated stray cats after being warned by the neighbors, more specifically in the area of Los Narejos. The neighbors raised the alarm when they saw several cats with serious injuries from burns and mutilation, to the point that some of these cats had to be operated on. The condemnation of this act can lead to a sentence of 18 months in prison. The latest outrage was paid for by a defenseless cat which had to be operated on because of its injuries. Makeover cat and dog puppy vending machine in a shopping center in China. The animals lived in an arcade machine in Shanghai, China, and were the prize for customers who managed to beat a game. They kept cat and dog puppies inside the vending machine and gave them out as prizes. In the pictures, you can see how the animals live in small cubicles with hardly any space of ventilation. The video showing the animals was posted on Weibo, a Chinese social network similar to Twitter. In China, it's also common to see lobster, turtle, and crab-like machines. Killing of dogs in China. Chinese authorities in Yunnan province are reconsidering draconian sanctions against dog owners. As Chinese commenters say, the measures are unfair. Waxing County officials are under fire for threatening to put the dogs down if their owners violate strict rules and take them for regular walks, the China News Service reported Wednesday. Yunnan court first issued the directive on Friday, requiring pet owners to keep their dog at home at all times. And that's all for today, and I'm very sorry to give this sort of news, but it's necessary to make conscience about the cruelty against animals. Thanks a lot.